Hi. Welcome to Books Come Alive.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Alfred. We're on.
What's that?
That's the camera.
Hi. Is that my tube?
No, it's not my tube. It's YouTube.
That's what I said, YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah. And we're going to be do some stories, okay?
I love books.
I know you do.
Yep, I love to eat books.
No. It's I love to read books.
And that's what I said. I love to eat books.
Okay. Alfred, can you sit over there because we're going to do some books now, okay? I'm going to read a chapter book.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Yeah, we're going to start with a chapter book. We're going to start with a book called Crash. This is a book by Jerry Spinelli. Jerry Spinelli is a fantastic author. Years ago, he wrote a book called Maniac McGee. It won the Newbery Medal back in about 25 years ago. And Jerry and his wife Eileen are both wonderful authors. This book is a very special book. It has to do with bullying. The name of it is Crash. Let's just listen to a few pages of Crash by Jerry Spinelli. My real name is John Coogan, but everybody calls me Crash, even my parents. It started way back when I got my first football helmet for Christmas. I don't really remember that happening, but they say when my uncle's Herm's family came over to see our Christmas presents, they were coming through the front door. I got down in a 4-point stance and growled, "Hut, hut, hut," and I charged ahead with my brand new helmet. Seems I knocked my cousin Bridget clear back out the doorway and out of her butt in a foot of snow. They say she bawled bloody murder and refused to come into the house, so Uncle Herm finally had to take the whole family away before they even had a chance to take their coats off. Like I said, personally, I don't remember the whole thing, but looking back at what I do remember about myself, I'd have to say the story is probably true. I was always crashing into people, into things, you name it, with or without a helmet. Actually, I lied a minute ago. Not everybody calls me Crash. There's one person who doesn't. It's just one of a million things that have bugged me for years about that kid. I still remember the first time I saw him. I think it was about 7 years ago. Yeah, the summer before first grade. It was a sunny summer day, and I was out in the front yard digging a little hole with my little red shovel, and I heard something like whistling. I looked up, and it was whistling. It was coming from a funny-looking, dorky little runt walking up the sidewalk. Only he wasn't just walking regular. He was walking like he owned the place, both hands in his pockets, sort of swaying la-dee-da with each step. He was strolling and gawking at the houses and whistling a happy little dorky tune like some Sneezy or Snoozy or whatever the names are. And he wore a button, great big one. It covered about half his chest, which wasn't that hard since his chest was so scrawny, but here he comes, strolling, whistling, gawking, buttoning, dorking up the sidewalk onto my sidewalk, my property. And all of a sudden I knew what I had to do. Like there was this big announcement coming down from the sky, "Don't let him pass." So I jump up from my hole and plant myself right in front of that kid. And what's he do? He gives me this great big grin. And he said, "Good morning, I'm your new neighbor. My name is Penn Webb, what's yours?" He sticks his hand out to shake. I ignored the question and his hand. "And," I said, "what kind of name is that?" "Oh, I was named after the Penn Relays," he said. "Huh?" "Yeah, it's a famous track meet. When I was born, my parents let my great-grandfather name me, and that's the name he picked. He won a race at the Penn Relays in the year 1919. 30,000 people cheered him on. He lives in North Dakota, and I lived there too till yesterday. And then I moved here to Pennsylvania with my mother and father. My mother had me when she was 40 years old. I was a late baby. You're going to be a flat-nosed baby. You don't shut up, I'm thinking. What's your button say? I said. It says, hi, I'm a flickertail. It's a flickertail. A flickertail is a bird. It's a state bird of North Dakota. That's why it's called the flickertail state. Why, what's Pennsylvania called? The poop state. I don't know. He didn't crack a smile. Didn't know it was even a joke. He got all frowny and thought about it and nodded and said, oh. Then his motor mouth took off again. North Dakota is real flat, where we lived anyway, and there's prairies too. And my dad says when the wind blows over the prairie, it looks wavy, like the ocean. I never saw a real ocean yet, but my dad said we're going to see the Atlantic Ocean soon. Oh, my dad's an artist. And he makes birds out of glass and ceramics and wood and metal. And he can make any kind of bird you can name, but he's the best in the world at prairie chickens. I cut him off. Wait a minute. My father's starting a new business. He works 70 hours a week, sometimes more. Well, my mother works at home, like my father. She makes greeting cards and buttons like this. Well, my mother works and goes to school, both. I like dogs, but I love turtles. Hey, you want to see my turtle? No. I have a grandfather named Scooter. He was a cook in the U.S. Navy. I'm an only child. So what? I'm starting first grade this year. Yeah? Me too, he said. And for the second time, he asked me my name. I said, Murgatroyd. He didn't even blink. He stuck out his hand and said, nice to meet you, Murgatroyd. Instead of my hand, I stuck out my shovel. He shook it. He laughed. He thought it was the funniest thing since Bugs Bunny. For some reason, though, that laughing was the last straw. I plucked that silly button off his shirt, dumped it in the hole I was digging, covered it with dirt, stomped on it, and flattened that dirt with my foot. The kid froze in mid-laugh. His eyes took up his whole face. He turned, walked down the block. He wasn't whistling now, boy. I figured, well, that's the last I'll see that ham bone. The next day, I was out there digging again. This time, I brought my dump truck along and I shoveled dirt into the dump truck. And when I drove the truck over to the flower bed and dumped the dirt onto a purple pansy and buried it. Anyway, as I was busy burying the pansies, I kept looking down the street. Maybe it was more than looking. Maybe I was hoping to see that new kid, Penn Webb or whatever he called himself, hoping to do something else to him. I wasn't seeing him. So after I buried the last pansy, I hopped on my bike, headed down the sidewalk. I had no idea where he lived. I wasn't supposed to cross the streets at my age, but I did. And pretty soon the houses and the yards were smaller. So I made a U-turn. I was heading back when I heard his voice again. Murgatroyd! He was running toward me. He wore a new button. He seemed all happy to see me, which made no sense at all. Hey, my name's not Murgatroyd, I told him. No? No. It's Humphrey. Ah, you were tricking me, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I'm a real tricker. But I'm not tricking you now. My name really is Humphrey. He nodded. Nice to meet you, Humphrey. I'm still Penn Webb. I stuck out my hand. When he went to shake it, I snatched it away and poked his forehead with my finger. Ha ha! Tricked you again. He laughed. Hey, you want to see my turtle? No, I said. What kind of junk is that to say on your button there? He said, peace. What? Peace. He continued to reach for the button. His hand shut up to cover it. "Ah, tricked you," I laughed. His hand went away. Then he stepped closer to me. Crazy as it sounds, I got the feeling that he was inviting me to snatch this second button if I wanted to. So I did. I plucked it off his shirt, but there was no hole to bury it, so I thought of pinning it on myself, but what do I want with a button that said peace for? So I gave it back to him. I asked him, "Where's your house?" "Right over there." Couldn't believe it. Who are you kidding? It's not a house. That's a garage. He looked at the place, then he looked at me. "No, I'm not tricking you. We live there. We moved in 2 days ago, honest." Still couldn't believe it. It was no bigger than a garage. In fact, I found out since that it really was a garage once, until somebody changed it into the world's dinkiest house. Then an old man came out of the place. He waved at us and called, "Hello, boys." We went around back. I said, "Your grandfather lives with you?" Kid giggled. "No, that's my father." "Your father? That guy's got white hair." "Yeah, he's 51 years old. He's 5 years older than my mother. I was a late baby." "Yeah, I know. I was a happy little surprise, too." "Huh?" "Yeah, I was. See, my mother and father thought they could never have any babies, and then all of a sudden, poof, I came along. They called me their happy little surprise." I was ready to give him a 2-finger surprise up his nose if he didn't cut out all this baby doodle. Since that white-haired old guy, father or whatever, made me remember something about from the day before. "Who did you say you got your name from?" "Oh, that was my great-grandfather. Yeah, he named me after the pen relay, see? Not many children have a great-grandfather. My dad says I'm really lucky." "Hey, you want to see my turtle now?" "No. I'm lucky too, you know." "Really? You have a great-grandfather?" "No. I have a great-great-grandfather." His eyes rolled in his head. His head wobbled. "Wow, you are lucky." "Yeah. He's 115 years old." His head almost wobbled off. "Yikes!" He staggered backward across the front yard, which was about the same size of a bath mat. He flopped onto his back. 115? I can tell this moron anything. "Okay, I'll see your turtle now." He jumped up and ran into the house. When he came back, he had a turtle. The shell was yellow and brown. "It's a box turtle," he said. "See, here's his name. Thomas was carved into the bottom shell. Here, you want to hold him?" He handed me the turtle. I took off on my bike. "Hey!" he yelled. I steered with one hand and pedaled like a demon up the sidewalk. Then I quick stopped, put the turtle on his back, right in the middle of the sidewalk, and called out, "Aha, tricked you, you dork." Took off and stopped again. "My name's not Humphrey either, you dork." Next day, I'm out in the yard again. I hear somebody calling me. "Hey, John! John!" He was running up the street. I was busy peeling bark off a tree on the yard, and I glared out at him and said, "Hey, who says my name's John?" He came up to me, huffing, button going in and out, in and out. "Your sister. She said your nickname is Crash, but your real name is John. John Patrick Coogan." I didn't know whether to be mad at him or her. "What were you doing talking to my sister?" "Well, yesterday I was looking for you. I saw her out front here. She didn't know where you were." "I was out on business," I said. I never seemed to turn that goofy grin off. It was starting to bug me even more than the button. "Hey, look, you want to know my name? You check with me." "Okay," he said, still grinning. "Can I call you Crash, though?" Any other time, to any other person, I would have said yes. But even that felt like too much to give him, so I said, "No." He blinked. No. That's what I said. No. So, what can I call you? Call me horse meat. He blinked some more. I was almost starting to enjoy this kid like I was a cat and he was my mouse. He started to say something. I poked him in the chest. You ever call me that and I'll cut your hair off. I held up the kitchen knife that I was peeling the tree with. I had him so bamboozled he didn't know which way was up. I was practically choking, trying not to laugh. So, why were you looking for me? His old beaming face came back. Oh, I wanted to ask you if you'd like to come to dinner at my house. The only word I could think of was, why? Because you're my best friend in Pennsylvania. We do that all the time in North Dakota. Have our friends over for dinner. Don't you do that here? We do what we want here. I was stalling for time. The last thing I needed was to have dinner with this family of ham bones. I didn't like him calling me friend either. On the other hand, I was kind of curious to get an inside look at the boss dorks in the garage they thought was a house. But if I did go, I'd make him pay for it. I said, all right, look, maybe I'll come, but only if you beat me to the draw. Draw? He said. Yeah, water pistol. Wait right here. I ran into my room. Got 2 water guns, loaded them to sink, came back out, gave him one. I said, here's yours. So you stick it in your pocket like this, then we stand 5 steps apart, then the count of 3, we draw. Got it? He didn't say anything for a long time. The grin was gone. He just stared at the green plastic gun in his hand. He wasn't even holding it right. He was biting his lip. Finally, he looked up at me and said, I can't. I gawked at him. You can't? He shook his head. Why not? He looked me dead in the eye. Because I'm a Quaker. Quaker? I screeched. What's a Quaker? Only Quaker I ever heard of was Quaker oat cereal. Oh, it's somebody who doesn't believe in violence. I told him, who says you have to believe in it? You just do it. He said, don't fight in wars. I laughed and waved my pistol in his face. You hambone, this ain't war, it's water guns. He held his gun out to me. I don't play with guns. He didn't take it. Instead, I took a step back, aimed, pulled the trigger, and shot him right between the eyes. Bullseye! That's the first chapter of Crash. I remember the first time I read Crash, and I read this first chapter, I thought, Crash is a bully. And he picks on Penn Webb, every day. I'm going to do something, though. I'm going to read the last line in this book. Hardly ever do that. But this is not a spoiler. This does not give the book away because there's a lot that happens between the section I just read and the last line in this book. But the last line always impresses me. The last line of the book reads, Penn Webb is my best friend. Crash is a book about a bully who picks on a boy. They become best friends. What happens in between makes for some really good reading. I like books that I can't put down, and this was one of those books. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe. You just might find a very special book that will change your whole life. Thank you. Bye-bye.